Today we begin the conversation about the D200. Coming off the D700, I wanted to try another coveted Nikon camera, but I didn't want to break the bank just to get there. So I went from 2008 back to 2005. I wanted to see if the CCD sensor is as impressive as you all say. On this channel, there's been tons of love for the D200 down in the comments. Several people have been shooting with it for over 2 decades now. In this video, I'll be giving you my first impressions of this legendary camera, showing you pictures from Queens, New Jersey, Dumbo, and even Coney Island. And I'll share with you 3 reasons why I believe this camera is still successful so much later. Even though this is an older camera, its 10 megapixel sensor is still quite strong, but to a certain degree. Yes, we fight that megapixels do not matter. But at what point does it become a factor? The D200's details are a bit minimal, but it does give it a unique look that I really enjoy. And because of this, it's also a little bit lighter. This isn't the D700. The crop sensor allows you to wear this camera on your body at all times with no form of discomfort. But one of the great things is the smaller body doesn't make the camera lose its presence. You still have a loud shutter and you still have the great DSLR experience that you always wanted. As for the internals, I had batteries as a positive. But after a few more shooting sessions, I might have to hold off talking about that until limitations. The storage of choice for this camera is a CF card. It's a sign of the times, but Amazon definitely has your back if you need a good card. Quick points that I really love: battery indicator in the viewfinder, amazing. A lever for the CF card door, cool. Let's look at the price. Back in 2005, this camera would have cost you about $1,700. Today, it's on MPB for just $175. But on eBay, it seems to be more of a range, going from $150 to about that $175 mark. For someone who loves cameras, I think that this number is somewhat welcoming for the body alone. But if this is your first camera, it seems that it's a little bit harder for me to recommend. Just to name a few, at $175, this is what you could find. You can get a D3100, released in 2010, the D7100 released in 2013, or even a D300 of 2007. But one thing I've learned about Nikon is that they have several models for a reason, meaning there's some things wrong here and there depending on which number you pick. So even though I can provide you cameras that are allegedly better, I have not used them myself, so it gets a little tricky there. But let's get back to the D200 and talk about some lenses that I think would be good for this camera. Remember, the D200 is a crop sensor camera, which means if you're using a FX lens, you need to multiply the number on the outside times 1.6. For instance, the 28mm that I'm using that typically is for a full frame camera is actually more like a 42mm. Personally, the 28mm is what I've been using, and that's what all of these photos have come from. In the comments, it was shared that the 35mm for the FX lenses is also very, very good. And for a zoom lens, I would suggest what they said down in the comments, being a DX 70 to 210mm lens. So you might be finding a trend with the lenses I selected. They're mainly FX. And that's because I really enjoy having the option of switching between different bodies and using this as a secondary and fun camera option. And that's okay. You don't have to do a full commitment when it comes to this camera. It's something interesting to have as a backup. Now let's talk about limitations. So a small factor that jumped out at me was the low light autofocus. It's slow and it breathes quite a bit. But I'll be honest, this is a problem as well for the full frame D700, so I can't be too harsh on it. That's also what slower shutter speeds are for. That's also why they put a built-in flash on top of the camera, so I'm not too mad about that. But one thing that I really wish that this camera had was a maximum shutter and ISO setting. It does have a simpler one, but in the D700, it actually allows you to communicate with the camera. Here's how low I want you to go for the ISO. Here's how high I want you to go for the ISO. And here's the shutter speeds that I feel more comfortable with. And why I like this feature so much is that I can kind of, in my brain at least, put it at ISOs that connect to film. So my range could be 100 to 1600, because these are very similar to films that you can actually go in and buy. So often at times I feel as though it can throw off my exposure from my camera when I'm shooting in aperture priority mode. Yes, you can switch into manual mode and you can touch every single setting, which I'm capable of doing, but when you want to find something that's a moment and you're not in a studio or anything that's much slower, this is going to bog you down extremely. So that is a pretty big thing for me. But a very, very small minor thing that I need to test out a little bit more. When you take a picture and you have preview on, I think it just sits there forever. We'll test it out, but it seems like you take a photo and it just lives there for quite some time. Unlike other cameras where you take a picture, you put it on a 3-second timer, or you can turn it off completely, which I do like. But with me not knowing certain situations, I don't want to have to jump into my camera to figure out if it's okay before I walk away from the situation. This camera has its high points, it has its low points, and certain things that fall in the middle. But there's 3 reasons that I think this camera is still quite successful overall. First, this camera is very, very easy to carry around with you day by day. I felt as though I was taking it to situations where I knew I wasn't going to take any pictures, like work or even the movies, but just having it on me made me feel more excited to shoot. The second one is that the sensor is similar to a Digicam, except for with this option, you get to change the lens, you get a whole bunch of buttons on the outside, you get a little bit more advanced settings once you go into the camera, and then it still has that size that I talked about before. So it lives in this weird realm of professional / Digicam situation. My third one is kind of wishy-washy. It is a cheaper body, but it has that challenge of having other options that are a little bit stronger. But if it's specifically something like this that you're looking for, I think that it's really, really good. So I think that this camera is for a photographer looking for something fun that they want to use for random creative projects or just walking around. This isn't your number 1, but it's damn sure a fun number 2. And for the batteries, I'm not sure if the CCD sensor is overcharging it or taking more energy, which I did look up, but it does seem to die a little bit faster. So I don't know, maybe it's a third-party battery situation, but that is one reason why it had to fall into a limitation. If you made it this far into the video, I want to thank you so much for watching. If you like it, like. If you want to subscribe, join for more videos in the future. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you. I'm out. Peace.